Jeff, we first met, oh God, it was years ago, and I honestly can't remember where.
I remember we spent a good amount of time in San Antonio
Right.
hanging out, but I want to say I knew you before then,
Yeah.
and that would have been 2014 or 15. I don't know. We're old, a long time.
A long time. And with me at my age, if it happened more than a year ago, don't ask for dates. It
Yeah.
just all tends to blur together. Last time we saw each other, well, I think was in North Carolina, not last year, the year before last.
I saw you in Poland last year.
Oh yes, you did. That's right.
You were fighting another breathing respiratory
Yeah, I had
issue.
pneumonia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not pleasant. And then I went to open world afterwards. And when I got back, my doctor gave me an earful. So,
Yeah.
yeah, learn to take it easy when I get sick. Um, you're the product manager for SQL Developer Data Modeler, and what else?
SQL CL,
SQL CL,
SQL Developer Web,
SQL Developer Web,
and Oracle REST Data Services,
and Oracle REST Data Services. That
which we just call ORDS.
boards, yes.
Yeah.
So, where did you go to school, and what got you excited about IT?
I went to a land grant institution where I grew up, West Virginia University. It's just a 4-year bachelor program. I probably started getting excited about IT when my parents brought home uh, an Atari 2400, I think. It had the cartridge basic type programming interface, but of course you could play Pac-Man and Missile Commander or Missile Command on it. Then we got our first x86 computer that I used to run Lotus Notes and WordPerfect on, but it also had Battle Chess.
Mm-hmm.
So had to
I
go with
remember
that.
Battle Chess.
Yeah, the two pieces would like fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had computer programming classes or programs, I guess, that were in the public school systems. And I thought computers was the way I wanted to go. I also wanted to be a lawyer because I like to write and I like to read and I like to argue.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to starting school, I just gravitated towards computers because I thought it was a better career thing long term.
Now, you're product manager for all of these Oracle products. What do you think your biggest challenge is?
Personally, or just open ended, whatever.
Open ended.
For me, staying up to date on all the latest platforms and stuff. You know, the Oracle Cloud itself has tons of things for me to figure out, not to mention little things like developers take for granted, like Git. You know, I never used Git source control before. I used Visual Source Safe and then Subversion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a completely different process than Git is. And then on top of that, there's things like Terraform and Kubernetes and Docker, and I have to know enough about those things to not sound like an idiot when talking to developers, and yet also keep up to date on my products.
Right.
So just probably the biggest challenge is knowing when it's time to go deep dive on something
Mm-hmm.
versus just being overwhelmed by trying to take it all in at once.
Right. Right. Like me, I try to study for an hour a day on a technology, and a lot of times it's just whatever my hand happens to hit. You know, and I'm constantly looking, what's going to happen in a year, 2 years, 5 years, just to stay relevant.
We probably have similar scenarios too, where I have a customer that asks a question, so that tells me what I need to go learn, and you probably have RFPs or clients paying you to go figure something out.
Yeah.
So we're led that way. Then in our spare time, what do we try to learn ahead of time so that we're ready for it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you were talking to a student in university right now,
Yep.
and they wanted to follow in your footsteps and be a product manager, what advice would you give them?
I'd say that's scary. I thought this used to be just me, but I know another person at Oracle that falls into the same bucket. I'm a failed developer.
Oh.
And I was not that far through my undergrad studies when I realized I was not going to be a very good developer. Like I just lacked that sort of artistic ability to see code in such a way to build really interesting, useful things with it. For me, I was looking at it like a crafty person at home might pick up a hammer versus, an architect who could, really do magic with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a student, I'm kind of freaking out because I'm kind of faking my way through this program, getting B's and C's mostly, an A here and there. And I was really excelling in my non-computer courses, Spanish and history, and there were computer science courses that were more about non-programming things that I enjoyed, that I did well in. And then I got that degree, and I was like, well, I've got the degree now. I'll just make something with computers work. And so my first company I interviewed with, they had two positions open. One was for
I just lost you. You're back?
Yeah, was that me or you?
Yeah, I lost you. I don't know.
I'll have to edit that out in post.
Okay.
So what was the last thing you heard me say?
You were talking about just starting interview, two positions, and then you went blank.
Yeah, so I got called in to interview for two positions. One was for a C, I don't even know if it was C++, but C something developer. This was back in the late 90s, or a tech support position.
Mm-hmm.
And they could tell that I was faking any sort of enthusiasm for the developer position, because I knew that even if they hired me, I wouldn't be a good fit. So I was lucky enough, they picked me up for the support position. It was a small company, like 100 employees, perfect for someone starting out. So, I had a support role, but I was doing things like training customers on how to use our software, installing the software, upgrading the software, um, answering their questions on a help desk.
Mm-hmm.
And the install ran on an Oracle stack.
Okay.
So I was doing like Solaris operating system upgrades on brand new hardware, and then installing Oracle, putting in an Oracle home, creating the database, installing our software, configuring it together. So I got to play with lots of cool stuff, and I did that for 2 years. So I learned a lot in that. But the common thread there that continued onward up until I became an official product manager, I think, was working with customers.
Mm-hmm.
So always working with customers, knowing the problems customers ran into, knowing what solutions looked like. And oftentimes that was me building things that failed. So I knew what solutions didn't look like. The role I got after that was at a much bigger company, still on the small side, especially compared to Oracle, doing support, this time second level support. So I wasn't answering the phone and talking to customers. I was answering the phone and talking to support people who were also talking to customers. So I kind of became an expert, subject matter expert in this very popular program. And keeping the support people happy was not filling my day. I had like, in some days, 4 or 5 hours of doing nothing.
Right.
And my blue collar cultural background and family upbringing basically prevented me from just sitting there and not doing anything. So I started publishing content on a website that was kind of a pseudo company website. It was kind of off the official beat a little bit. So I didn't really know it, but I was kind of blogging. So like a new version of our software would come out and I would just publish like this really bad 20-page, they don't have pages, but like 20 pages worth of scrolling of static content on a website. Here are the things you should know about, going to version X of this software. And it was all about, well, I knew customers were overwhelmed with info and they didn't have time to figure this stuff out on their own. So I was like, I'll just spoon feed them, the stuff that they should know. So I've always been customer focused and centric. Even my high school jobs were in the service industry. So working in a restaurant or working in a hotel, or even cutting grass and stuff before that. I just like working with people.
Right.
So with a tech background and liking working with people and knowing how to write and communicate, I saw this new kind of position at my company that interested me a lot. And these people were called product managers. And the product managers would come to me as the subject matter expert to figure out how to do something. And then they would use that information to help a sales rep close a deal or to just genuinely help a customer. I was like, well, I'm kind of already doing that already. And I needed a career path. There's not really a career path for support.
No.
You either get promoted and become director of support, or every so many years they put you on a new, more expensive product to go. But you're basically just doing the same job over and over again. And I didn't want to manage people. It's like I'll give this product management thing a try. So I had a VP there that kind of sponsored me. She kind of owed me a solid, and I asked her to pull some strings and get me a job as a product specialist, which you could kind of think of as a junior product manager. And I did that job for like a year or two. And they kind of officially made me a product manager for a year. And it was around some database products we had for developers doing PL SQL stuff. So I came out of a probationary period in that role that I agreed to go into. I said, I know you're kind of taking me on a lark here because I don't have experience. That's the hardest thing. How do you become a DBA without experience?
Exactly.
How do you become a product manager without experience? So I was like, here, I'll do the job for a year or two. And at the end of it, if you think I've done a good job, you can give me the job for real and we can talk about money later. So I basically volunteered to do the work at the same rate I'd been in before, which was severely underpaying me based on what I thought I was worth. But I really wanted to get into it, so I was cool to pay that tax, and it was a big company and pretty prestigious product line, so I thought that was worth it. I did the job and they were happy, and they didn't want to give me a raise though.
Oh.
So I was like, okay. So I called a friend who I'd just seen visiting a customer out of town in Ohio. I want to say I was in Columbus. So if you ever talk to Joe Coleman, you can tell him he stuck with me because of one night in Columbus, Ohio in the early 2000s. So my friend was doing pre-sales.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what pre-sales is, it's basically the techie person that helps a sales rep work with customers. So they're like the demo monkey or I'm trying to think of a less, you're the dog and pony show. You're the guy doing the demos and the hands-ons and the proof of concepts for customers. I was like, hey, I like your team. You know me. I've helped you and your team for a long time. Are you looking to hire someone? So I actually left product management after 3 years. I went into pre-sales for 6. Okay. And I was very, very good at that, and I like that role. And because I like winning.
Yes.
You give me something to win, I'll go do that. And as a subject matter expert, I was the one training these guys and gals on how to demo the products that they were then going to go sell.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I just got to exercise a different set of muscles with the same set of skills.
Right.
So again, it was more customer
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Always working with customers, and now also having a little bit more on the account management side too, not just technical customer issues, but also business problems,
Right.
using the software to solve those business problems, that kind of stuff. What was acceptable to a customer for a new product.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 6 years of being very happy with that, not really having any desire to change that, I got a direct message on Twitter from my boss now, and he said, "Hey, do you want to talk?" And I was like, "I bet I know why he wants to talk." And he offered me a product manager role for SQL Dev, which I basically accepted on the spot without even thinking about it.
Oh.
Because my dream had always been to not be a product manager. I didn't even know what product managers were back when
Mm-hmm.
you had dreams. My dream was to go work for Oracle.
Okay.
So when I was in school, the current president of Oracle came and spoke as an alumni.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an Oracle-based database class that I took as a senior that I really, really liked. And even in my first job out of college, about 70% of my job was dealing with an Oracle database. So like, I really want to go work for this company. It seems like a cool company. I didn't go to Carnegie Mellon or MIT or Harvard or whatever, so getting hired out of school was going to be a problem. And I'd always heard they didn't really want you after that unless you were, an expert.
Right.
So to have him, kind of reach out to me, not even me applying, just actually reach out to me directly on Twitter. I was like, whoa, that kind of blew my mind a little bit. And then to
Mm-hmm.
offer me that thing that I always wanted, I was like, yeah, I'll go be a product manager again. So the bonus there being the products that I manage don't have a direct cost associated with them. So I get to basically concentrate 100% on how are our tools going to make our customers more successful,
Mm-hmm.
and not worry about how to get more money out of them.
Right.
At the end of the day, I am worried about how to get more money out of our customers because my kids have to go to college and my mortgage needs paid, which requires money. If we're not running a charity here at Oracle.
Oh, yes.
But I get to do more of the long play, instead
Mm-hmm.
of how do we close this deal this quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I got to think about, how do we keep our customers stark raving fans of our tech so that
Mm-hmm.
they don't ever want to leave it, and so they keep investing more and more in it.
Right. Right. And I got to say, Chris is a pretty awesome guy.
He's pretty all right.
Yeah. Yeah. He can scare you sometimes. Uh, so if a university student wanted to be a product manager, what would you tell them?
It's kind of funny. I went from being this unknown position, or at least severely under advertised position.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say someone like GE or IBM officially coined that term about 3 decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last 5 years, it's kind of become this Uber role that's very attractive
Mm-hmm.
to the Gen Y and millennial group of folks coming up. So people in their 20s and 30s. And with that comes like official programs. So I know of at least one school that has a degree program for product management, and there are tons of institutions out there that do seminars and webinars and certification programs. So none of those things would hurt. But I say bone up on your people skills.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of customer facing and a lot of questions on how to connect SQL Developer to Oracle.
So one of the challenges with talking to someone about what it means to be a product manager is the term is so overloaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different position even against different organizations in my company, much less how different companies handle it. But I think at the core at these jobs usually is you are a person who is to help liaison the tech and business side of your company with customers.
Mm-hmm.
So developers generally don't speak directly to customers.
Mm-hmm.
We have support, and we also have product managers that can help do that. And it's a two-way thing too. So if a customer is running into a problem, we don't want to build a solution for one customer. So hopefully a product manager is keeping an eye on, what's hard out there and comes up with a way to put in a fix to make lots of people's lives better. And it's very collaborative too. So it's not like on my team there's one person or two people whose job it is to figure out what goes in each release. Mm-hmm. But as the product manager, I'm probably the biggest cheerleader for what's happening in the field and with customers. It's also the reason you see me spend so much time on Stack Overflow and Twitter, because that's where people are.
Right.
That's also why we usually go to conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I can fly to Poland and run into 300 people at a conference there. Mm-hmm. Or we can do a blog post and reach 5,000 people.
Right.
I miss the face-to-face stuff right now, especially since we can't do that really, apart from these types of things. Mm-hmm. But having that online presence has really helped me not miss too much. So I guess advice for someone saying, hey, Jeff, I want to be a product manager. How do I go and do that? One is make sure you know what being a product manager is. Mm-hmm. Work on your interpersonal skills. You need to be an effective communicator. You need to be empathetic. You need to know how to listen. You need to probably pick some tech stack to at least somewhat familiarize yourself with. I don't think you have to be a subject matter expert in something to be a product manager, but once you become a product manager for something, I hope you do become a subject matter expert in it. If not, that means you're not talking to customers enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You talk to a lot of customers, and you also talk to a lot of people at conferences, and you're constantly getting, I see on Stack Overflow all the time, Twitter, your blog, that Jeff Smith, you're constantly communicating, and you're constantly listening to what your customers have to say.
Trying to. So I was going to say something and then just, a common career path I think for product managers is support and pre-sales. Mm-hmm. And I think that's common because of the customer interaction and the interaction with R&D as well. So I know more than a couple of product managers here at Oracle and other places that came from pre-sales. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the best pre-sales people also have career path issues.
Right.
Because you're in sales, basically. So how do you get promoted? Well, you go and sell something that costs more money where you get paid more.
Right.
Or you become a manager or a director of a team of those people. Mm-hmm. And if you want to do something, not bigger or better, but different, then I think product management is a lot of times where talent gets picked up, because we, as a pre-sales person, if you're good, we know the tech, at least good enough to sell it, and we know how to talk to customers, at least well enough to sell it. And support kind of has the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff, thank you very much.
You're welcome very much, man.
Do you think North Carolina conference is going to go?
The East Coast?
Yeah, East Coast.
I've been chatting with the organizer now. Mm-hmm. They are spinning the gears to put things in place to make that conference happen.
Okay.
But I think everyone has a huge grain of salt in their system. There's just so much uncertainty right now that no one can say what's going to happen. Yeah. We would just look silly. But yeah, I think there are plans to try to have an East Coast Oracle event in Raleigh this fall.
All right. Excellent. Well, then hopefully I'll see you there.
Yeah, God willing, man.
Yeah, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
Awesome.
Thank you. You have yourself a great day.
Yep. Stay safe out there, Rob.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye.